Hi, my name is Zachary Angelat. I just wanted to make a video. I guess maybe it has something to do with code, but it has more to do with my thoughts on things. I guess sort of, even though it's about code. Um, I I was just I think the thing that sort of stirred my curiosity sort of was uh, different ways on how people code things. Sort of. Um, some of the things I like to do, or have done, I should say, like with JavaScript, is like try to make games or whatever. And what you end up kind of doing is doing a lot of abstracting away of things, or what I just call dot names. You end up just doing dot name, dot name, dot name, new name, and what kind of ends up happening sort of is other people end up not really knowing what's going on whatsoever. And I think there does need to be. I understand people are under, who are developers under pressure just have to make things work. Things not working is the only time you have to fix things. I understand that, but the idea that other people have to read your stuff, I think is sort of important. And people who want to contribute to your stuff, I think, is also important, because in my eyes, sort of, you know, it may seem like a good idea to put a name into a name and to abstract something early, but my feelings are sort of that it really takes away from what's actually going on, and it could even make it harder for yourself later on when you come back to the project. Um, it doesn't mean everything has to be completely verbose. It doesn't have to be 100 files and 100 folders just to do one thing. Uh, you don't need to reinvent procedural programming. But my idea is that when you do name something, it has to have a very specific reason why. And a lot of times I'll do that because it's in a new folder, but I'll attempt to try and keep the same name, which may or may not be good in certain situations. So if you have a service that obviously is going to be linear, you may want to change the name to a lot of things, even though they do the same thing. But if you want to just sketch out or skeleton out something, then obviously you want to keep the names the same. So it just depends really what it is you're doing. And so sort of what I mean is, so if you're well, I'll look at my groundup project sort of in a certain sense. So let's go to I guess you could say the entry point. And not everything inside here is named the same as it is in other files, right? So if I go to let's see, most recent groundup. If I go to my files and I'm just opening up an editor because it tends to be a lot easier sort of to explain what it is I'm doing. So I named this function, this string that replaced all, was titled trim. So is what I named it. And it originally was just title. And the reason why I did that specifically is because you are basically trimming everything, and so it's title trim. It doesn't mean that's always the greatest naming scheme for something, right? But you do it for a very specific reason, like delete by title. If I go to the actual thing for it, well, I guess this is a bad example because it's just like an SQL sort of thing. There's no real layers to it. Get library, I suppose that's another just SQL sort of thing to it. I guess I tend to try to keep it one layer deep, sort of, when I'm going to use it. Or generate database. This may have multiple layers, but add to DB. So, okay, you have this function add to DB, and you're writing the DB connection because you're looking for a certain text in the file, and then you're writing a template to it. And that's what's being added into add_db. Like get text comment. You're looking for this comment. You're looking into this file, and then you're going to add this at the end of it. It's made up of multiple functions, right? Find text, which is another one that you're trying to find text inside of a file, and you're updating the text. Gen text comment is more of a way to say that specifically it's used for generating code, and you're using text, and you're eventually spitting out or replacing a comment. And what does that sort of mean? So if you go to here into the actual app and you see these certain kind of comments, that's what it's looking for, that's what it replaces, and that's what kind of function it creates. The reason why I'm explaining this is sort of in the sense that even though you may have things that certain layer deep, their naming is very, very, very specific to what it is they're doing. And that's it. You don't try and abstract something out more than that. Because I could have had this, equal some data, maybe trim it or do something, and then name it something else, and then have it return that data, and then back in this file, do something else with it. My thing sort of is, and maybe there's a personal opinion, is that when you do something like that, like gdata file, it's not always apparent what exactly is going on, right? And see this one, so they updated this function to return error, right? I gotta actually do that throughout the whole thing. And I did that so that I can carry the error on. But my point being is that this gdata file, what does that really mean to anybody? And not a whole lot, right? But what it is it's a made file going to be used for generating code. Within this gen data function. And gdata file doesn't really mean a whole lot, and that's kind of a problem, right? Because if someone else were to come upon this, well, what does that mean to me, right? And to be honest, really I should be naming it gen file or get data gen file. I guess gen get data file. Doesn't mean you have to always explain things out a lot, but it sure does help, And the reason why I do that is to explain the point that when you start slamming names into names, they lose their meaning. No matter how well you think you name them, they eventually lose their meaning. And you really do have to be careful with that, because if other people see this, they're going to be like, I'm not touching this because I don't know what that gen data file is. What does that mean, right? This helps you sort of explain where it's coming from or whatever, but really, really I should name it something else. And that should be maybe Gen App DB Data. I guess really that should be the name of it, right? Well, no, because it's not DB. It's you're getting the data, right? Get data. So really, it should be get data. The DB file explains it pretty well, actually. And this is sort of the way you should be thinking about how to code, sort of, in that you're trying to get down what it is you're doing, and when you look back on it, what does it mean to you? And so that's important, right? Because if you're looking at someone else's code, you may not totally know what's going on, right? Like grab data temp. I don't exactly know what that means. Look, it's a whole nother function. Grab data temp. Oh, it's a template file. Now, see, I really should name it. Temp grab data. Wrong template. Grab data. That's really what I should be naming it. Where was that? I wonder if it was coming from what I use. Get data. DB get data. Yeah, so it's actually coming from this. So yeah, template. It's gotta be capital T in order for it to be that to me makes a lot more sense. You know, and that's what I'm trying to sort of explain in this video is a lot of times I'll see some stuff in other people's code that's just really generic and just, you know, get set user, you know, whatever another. It just, I get it when you're first building stuff, it means something to you, but when somebody sees that, it just doesn't mean anything to them whatsoever. It doesn't have any particular meaning, right? And you know, maybe I didn't name things the greatest in here, like gen app get data. I suppose that could be, I could add something in there that's a wee bit more specific, right? I don't know, but it helps a lot when you go to actually look at the code and you're like, well, what am I doing here? What's gen database? You know, is that generating the database? Generates database tables. You know, you really do have to sort of think of things in those terms, so that when later on you're not afraid, or you're not like, I don't know what this does. I don't know. You know. Less clicks you have to do later on in order to figure it out, sort of. To me, that's a lot more important, so that when things go wrong, you're not so much in the rough of it, right? Because if you keep putting names side names side names side names, and a bunch of stuff breaks because you move some folders, now you're in some real trouble, right? This thing, see, grab data temp. Did I change that to template grab? Okay. So I actually have been updating a lot of stuff. Didn't exactly have it work out. Basically what I was on to was, so I was trying to do a lot of things and I didn't finish it. So I kind of created a new function, this gen text comment, so that I don't have to put, is it there? Is it verified? Is it found? 'Cause that's exactly what this thing does. Found, not found. So I'd update those functions, but also I in my original application of it, I just had it have this route kind of function here inside the app folder or app file, and then I had this really generic handler that it's okay, but I felt like it's not putting it into the right folders. I think I even did that on one of my in that contribution project thing. No, gen template. No, but this did create the route file for it. As generic as you could kind of see what's going on. The real problem I sort of had though was, so this creates the I should have named this handler. Because I was trying to create a handler. Oh no, this is for the routes. Never mind. Here's the handler part. No, that's for HTML. Temp. I think that's it. No, this is just for the regular home routing thing. I had this in the CMD actually. Start. Yeah, so I was making the handler folder, the handler file, and then I was writing a template to it. Where is that? What's this? No, its own file. Maybe the gen was. Yeah, so the handler, and then the file, and then it's a route file, HTML, I'm not 100% sure where the heck the actual template for the handler is. But that, I mean, that was something I sort of did, and I sort of wanted to move that over to here, to the ground up project, to not have it all into the app.go. I just felt like that's kind of, so instead of having all these things, they'd be in separate folders, right? To me, it makes more sense. But my only problem was what had ended up happening was that when you ended up creating a file for it, and it had its own folder and everything with the mod file and everything, the problem was kind of GitHubbing it, or allowing the files and folders to be sent inside here without being affected to the other one that's surrounding it, sort of. And so that kind of became a problem a little bit. See, contribute, I had to create its own thing, but then when you run it outside of contribute, it doesn't work, because this is like sort of inside of that. And so I'm afraid it's exactly what's going to happen inside the app folder. So I don't know. We'll see. Let's see if it just breaks. I think it will, because I didn't actually check anything. Oh, yeah, I do it. Let's see the command thing. Did I even do this with that? Did I just do it with a... Oh, wait. See where it works with debug. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of problems. Yep, because I changed all these. Definitely changed all these. Oh, I didn't change these, and I was meaning to. Yeah, I gotta change it with that new function. Just get text comment. So what I mean is, okay, so it's looking in the same file, but when I do this, is the actual text I want it to be, but then I want it to create at the end and look for this. So then I can just remove this and do the next one and so forth. Yeah, because I added stuff, it's going to be like a kind of a reworking of things, but obviously the difference between the two is pretty good. And there's a lot more error checking, because these don't check any errors, actually. But yeah, that's sort of what I've been working on. That sort of was my thoughts a little bit on naming things, sort of. I could see how some people would say, well, if you're already renaming things, why, what's the benefit of Go, sort of, and is it really that simple when you got to rename it anywho? To me, yeah, because things that are made up underneath it are some of the most simple things ever, and that to me helps a lot, like a lot, and I hope people realize sort of the simplicity of it, because if you're dealing with different return types, or you're dealing with some other framework or something, there's a lot more things you have to think about instead of just putting it down and updating things and so on and so forth. And so naming things really well with a language that keeps things really simple um, makes doing this type of work really easy. Um, you don't have to install a bunch of stuff. You don't have to worry about a bunch of things. You just do it, and that's it. Um, yeah. I guess that's really all I wanted to say about it that had meaning. If you have any questions, please let me know. All right. Thank you.